blasphemy! This is madness!
Madness. This is Sparta!
Though I had the Kratos of expectations going into this game, I was reasonable about it. I told myself, if there isn't a huge amount of evolution between God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, that wouldn't be the end of the world. I'd be low-key annoyed, for sure, but as sequels go, that kind of result would not be a Greek tragedy. Because really, how could you have a bloody great axe to grind about boomeranging back into an extension of a modern masterpiece? Ragnarok's predecessor was a phenomenon. It was a reboot that won Santa Monica Studios a whopping 262 Game of the Year awards. Hell, it even landed a Greatest Game of All Time award, which, if we're being sensible, was taking things just a little bit too far.
You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand.
With regards to forging a sequel, clearly the blueprints of greatness were already in hand. Santa Monica Studios need only belt out something similar, but bigger. The only real danger to that process might be a series of unfortunate events to test the mettle of the dev team.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
Going through a period of end times-esque events like pestilence and war sure would qualify as a developmental hiccup. The fact that Cory Barlog handed his wolf sled reins to a new director might be another point of concern. And Kratos' voice actor, Christopher Judge, requiring multiple surgeries during development, yeah, that's a big hurdle too. However, despite all of those trials and tribulations, I'm happy to say this up front. God of War Ragnarok is a shining example of a sequel done right. Much like young Atreus, at minimum, this newcomer effortlessly keeps pace with its impressive forebearer, and in many, many ways, it eclipses the old alpha dog with the sort of new tricks that only a new generation can provide. But before we get into all that, it's important to say that this is going to be spoiler city for God of War 2018 from here on out. That's unavoidable. And I should also say that all footage I'm using is within spoiler-approved guidelines set, and you can expect large chunks of non-commentary gameplay drawn from my completed Give Me God of War difficulty blind run. You know what? Here's some of that now. Let's talk in a bit.
Well, they return from the dead rather swiftly, don't they?
Behind you, brother!
Got him!
Let's talk basic plot. 3 years have passed since the official beginning of the end, Fimbulwinter. Also, the equally chilling True End cutscene, which showed us the arrival of one of Odin's heavies. And I do mean that literally. As far as elite warfighters go, Thor is what you'd call a gravy seal.
The f*** you say? Oh, we got a model father!
As Kratos, the angriest cue ball in gaming, you'll continue to hew your way through the 9 realms, trying to put a pin in the impending apocalypse, and also discover why some folks insist on calling your son Atreus Loki. Just like the last game, all of the events that unfold are elegantly handled as one big, single camera shot, and it's still classy as hell.
Damn! Am I good or what?
At its core, this is a tale centered on the impossibilities of defying prophecy, striving to be better than you were made, and, of course, the difficulties of keeping a growing warrior son in check. That last point being said, sorry meme fans, not one single
Boy.
is uttered. You will, however, be told to keep somebody's name out your damn mouth at some point. Clearly, while the source material is ancient, Santa Monica are all about keeping the script less pagan poetry and more contemporary modern drama with infighting immortals. I love their take on this. One of the finest examples is Richard Schiff's wonderful portrayal of Odin Allfather.
You don't really want war, do you, Kratos? All that blood on your hands, on your son's hands.
I went in expecting him to be verbose monologues in ye olde English, and was delighted to meet a supremely sarcastic, matter-of-fact geezer. Old mate's just trying to run a family business out of a ski lodge, but he's surrounded by planks of wood. His pain-in-the-arse kids and their extended family. In the trailers, you've probably no doubt already spotted the presence of Tyr. He's on the opposite end of my approval spectrum, because he's the Norse, we have one at home version of the God of War.
Oh there, friends. Salutations. We mean you no harm.
As for other cameos, you're on the personal shit lists of Freya and Thor, so you can obviously expect both of them to feature largely. Moving along, the two comedy and armor-slinging dwarves Sindri and Brock also return to Team Kratos. Once again, there's absolutely fantastic interplay between this odd couple, the former being a prissy neat freak, and the latter being a sweary, salt-of-the-earth kind of guy. Honestly, their dialogue is so good, I gladly milked every extra chat prompt that popped up.
And how's life been treating everyone's favourite Azure Vulgarian?
The f*** you call me?
Exquisite!
With that all said, this is pretty much all I'm willing to divulge about the narrative, which runs roughly 26 hours if you stick to the main path only. I don't have too many negatives here, but it has to be said that, much like Thor, things do get a bit bloated in the middle and tail end. Don't get me wrong, I still loved being in this world, but I just found myself champing at the bit to Ragnarok and roll already. On the plus side, I loved that this tale didn't go the way that I thought it would, which is always a delight for me. And, somehow, even though my brain already knows and accepts that they rebooted Kratos from a one-note a-hole into a complex father, I'd still almost forgotten that yes, a God of War game has the power to heavy attack my heartstrings, and it managed it a bunch of times.
Ready.
Behind you, brother! Right side! Watch your right! Behind you! Look out! Poison from above!
Though light puzzling, wolf sledding, and cliff humping do feature, axing people a series of short, sharp rhetorical questions is still the focus of this game. Aside from Kratos being able to lock onto enemies at twice the distance and target multiple opponents more effectively, the fisticuffs in this sequel feel very familiar in the first act. Melee attacks feel hyper-responsive and extra meaty in glorious 60 frames per second. Hurling a magical axe right into somebody's beak still feels bloody amazing. Hell, even missing that throw and then recalling said axe to thwack him in the back of the head is somehow even more satisfying. As a veteran of the Valkyrie trials of the previous God of War, and even with this considerable experience under my belt, man, I still had my work cut out for me. Because Ragnarok rolls a little differently. Also, I suspect, Santa Monica has actually tuned things to be a little bit harder this time. Obviously, there's a culture shock from returning from tons of techniques and god-tier mist armor to only basic attacks and a loincloth. But what surprised me more was this new need to prioritize aspects of my personal progression by essentially doing a thing to make the thing better. Doom 2016 fans will know the exact risk and reward thing going on here. If you doggedly stick to the same offense, you'll not evolve into other, juicier perks. And the flow on from that is you run the risk of making yourself brittle and not as flush with many different tactical avenues in the boss fight that's sure to be just around the corner. Branching out, and I do mean that literally by earning XP and buying new techniques through 3 tiers per weapon, is just as imperative as mastering these new moves via repetition. Because each mastered move can be souped up with either better stun, damage, or some elemental properties. To survive on the higher difficulties is to expertly swap between weapons and techniques as you desperately try to control distances and have your buddy character ping timely, disruptive projectiles into approaching mobs. Combat is fast, fun, and challenging, and even the most armless looking grunt can mess up your day if you take your eye off the cue ball. When you're revisiting the realms from the previous games, obviously you can expect some enemy and environmental deja vu. However, once you open progressively more of these 9 playgrounds, weird, wild places that have their own look, feel, and themes, well, you can expect a larger cast of tricksy grunts and mid-bosses to make your life hell. Once again, you can of course expect enemies with certain elemental resistances that reduce your favourite weapon's effectiveness to that of a feather duster or harsh language. Plus, berserker foes who will grow larger health bars and become more rabid if they're not finished quickly. It feels like every arena fight is like spinning many plates at once, but the old school Greek style of it. You smash the hell out of every bloody plate when you're done. And you'd be happy to hear that the perk trees for each of your 3 weapons are roughly double what they were last time. Also, the dedicated shield has taken a backseat to a new spear weapon, which offers some interesting melee applications, though its true worth lies in using it like a Halo needler. Essentially, you insta-deliver a bunch of low-pain shafts into your victim, and then you have to find some time to detonate said shafts, which will chain out into a full damage payoff. I enjoyed getting my pig sticker on, but only in certain situations, and it has to be said that the spear kinda shows up a little too late in the proceedings. By the time she arrived, I couldn't pull myself away from my continuing love affair with the Leviathan axe and Chaos blades, especially now that both of those old favourites feel weightier and look flashier thanks to fancy new VFX. Something else worth mentioning before we move on? Many of the arenas have more verticality this time around. You can use your blades to just whip up to new positions, and it feels slick and empowering. Especially if you then Obi-Wan somebody's ass from the high ground with these potent new drop attacks. They saved my bacon a bunch of times. and axe lobbers are going to love these new rebound gems. Basically, if an enemy is turtle blocking you, you can just move to a certain angle, then ricochet old mate Leviathan off the wall and into the back of their bonds. After much reflection, I think it's my favourite new mechanic.
Behind you, brother! Maybe those round will take you. Nope. Say good morning! Let's go! On your right! That's like poison! Where am I going? Over here? Over there? Can't catch me! Oh, you like shit loud! Hey, stop there! Come on! I always knew you'd be crazy! I'll have a shop up and going here in a blink. You watch.
When it comes to presentation, the abundance of pre-release videos have given you accurate impressions of just how epic this game looks and sounds. Bear McCreary's excellent new soundtrack pivots away from the wailing Greek divas of yore, because what's here fully embraces Viking drums and brooding bass-tacular dirges, which will absolutely grow a beard on your chest, even if you don't want one. Likewise, as I said before, the voice acting is phenomenal across the board, though it is clear that Chris Judge is not in his finest form. As a way to compensate, it's clear that Santa Monica Studios kept Kratos more stoic this time around. That is a shame, but it's an understandable one. And hey, visually, God of War 2018 was always a looker on PlayStation 4, and the exact same thing can be said of its PlayStation 5 baby. Personally, I'm a fiend for fluidity, so I played this on 4K 60 frames per second performance mode and had a flawless experience, especially after coming from bloody Gotham Knights, which was locked to 30. Anyway, you know what? Don't get me started. I think what's immediately apparent is the work done on the complex facial rigs. Also, these 9 explorable realms are all distinct, ludicrously detailed, and full of these vista scenes that flex harder than the big bald man himself. Santa Monica Studios, you are just showing off in places. In the end, the prophecies were true. The prediction that God of War's carefully constructed world, characters, and gratifying combat could probably only be made better in a sequel is absolutely on the money. This is a sequel that certainly starts out safe and familiar, but across a very, very generous runtime, it steadily ramps up to become an adventure that exceeds all expectations. So what can I tell you? Smash open every jar in your vicinity and gather together the hack silver that falls out, because God of War Ragnarok is an essential purchase. With all that being said, I'm going to cut the spoken part of this review short now. You've heard enough from me. I'm going to fill the remainder of Sony's very strict, only use 30 minutes of your footage allowance to show you nothing but pure gameplay from my non-commentary Give Me God of War playthrough. Said playthrough will go live on launch day, so boomerang back.
I suppose I'll leave you to it then.
Light up on the way!
That was fine.
Bloody Draugr hole! We've got to clear out all these undead bastards!
Whoa! That looks like it hurt! It's fast!
Won't be hearing any more from those Draugr.
That's off. Last off. Lassa. Shifa. Last off. Rifa. stuff.
That groom's found a perch on high.
Move back! That one was tough.
Stay on your guard. There could be others around.
Think that Dreki is what killed the first one we found?
If so, it was their aggression that got them both killed.